All right. You are in the right place. If you are peptide curious, if you've been using them yourself and not quite sure what you're doing or wanting to deploy them for your clients and for your patients, if you just want to know safe sourcing and yeah, we're going to have a chat today to make sure that you understand exactly what I'm doing, exactly my journey with them. And we have with us the amazing Amy, who is the CEO of Access Bioscience. And she's going to share a little bit of her story of what started her on her health journey, which is so inspiring. And also, we're going to talk dollars and cents, y'all. Okay. Because I know that my husband and I both have had some insane health turnarounds for the better, thanks to peptides. However, it was getting up there, like what our stack was costing us every month. And that's what sent me down a rabbit hole to find ways that not just me, but my entire community of practitioners, of my friends and family who trust me to keep them in the forefront of health and wellness, how we could find an affordable way for them to tap into what I consider a superpower of longevity and health and just amazing health benefits. But to do that in a way that doesn't break the bank. All right. So with that, meet Amy, the founder of Access Bioscience. Amy, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Joy, for having me. You are a true joy, so I appreciate being here with you. And yes, my name is Amy, and I am the founder and CEO of Access Bioscience. But first, obviously, I want to start off with a quick note that I am not a doctor, and nothing that I share is medical advice. So I just want to get that out of the way, because Access Bioscience, we operate strictly in the research space. But as Joy said, it's been life-changing for so many people. What Access Bioscience has been able to bring. All of our products are labeled and sold for laboratory use only and research use only. And so with that, I want you to please do your own research. Please consult your licensed medical professional. If you are a medical professional, consult with yourself and it will be
you guys, and I've been ordering peptides for, gosh, let's see. I've been on the peptide train for 5 years now, 6 years now. Yeah. And so we're going to get into a little bit of that, but I just want to share, like, I'm not a doctor either. Okay. You guys know me. I'm the CEO of Heal at Scale. I help you put your business strategy together, your scalable offers, and anything in those scalable offers, right? That might be a part of your protocol. Okay. For many of the doctors that I use, peptides are now part of those protocols. Okay. So I've been ordering for 7 years. I've always seen that on the bottle, the for research only, or the not for human consumption, like all of these things that made me very, very nervous when I first got into the peptide world. For God's sake, I feel like it used to feel like so underground, like, it was like weird ways to pay and weird, all this weird stuff. So it's definitely modernized a whole ton. You have a lot more access. But the issue that I was having is the price of the stack that I wanted to have my husband on, myself on, was just really starting to stack up there. And that's sort of what sent me down a rabbit hole to see, where are there other alternatives to this? Where are all of these things made? Where are all of these things sourced? Because I was seeing practitioners offering like $100,000 offers to do a simple blood test and then your stack design for 6 months. And I thought, wow, okay, well, my peptides are expensive, but it's not $100,000, So that got me really geeky and curious to be like, wait, where are these things made? Are some of them made in, a golden facility in the sky, and some of them are made in the gutter? Like, what the heck? Why is there such a disparity in what these things are costing me? Okay. So I want to get into that because that has a lot to do with, Amy too was like, hey, how do we bring this to the masses? How do we get this to more people? Not everybody's going to throw down $100,000 for a $10 blood test and some peptides that definitely don't need to cost that much. But before we do that, Amy, would you just mind sharing with your audience? And if it's too personal, you don't have to share, but I was really moved by your story that kind of even got you into the health space, because we all have it, right? Like, our mess becomes our message. So Amy, would you mind sharing with everybody exactly how you kickstarted your health journey?
Absolutely. Well, first off, I was living like the dream life out here in Las Vegas as a dancer and showgirl for Siegfried and Roy on the strip. So
Ooh.
I was like doing my thing, having fun, and then grew up and had kids. And when my son was 7 years old, he was diagnosed with grade 4 glioblastoma brain cancer. And there's nothing in the world that can take your breath away as quickly as hearing that your child has cancer. And that really, I had always been kind of a researcher and always into health, but that is what really piqued my curiosity and really started me down this path of looking down the rabbit hole. And there's more to it. And I really witnessed the body's incredible ability to heal. Because today, my son is 17 years old. He is a 4.0 honor student. He's had like 25% of his brain removed, 3 brain surgery. He's had the works. So let me just tell you, he's been through the ringer, and he is amazing. And it really is incredible, the body's ability to heal itself and to regenerate. And so then later, like I said, that was 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago that he was diagnosed. And I really went into, those rabbit holes and deep dives into the root causes. And then I hit, perimenopause. I got older. Not only did I get older, but I got
No, say it isn't so. Time marches over us all, right?
Right. And it's a gift to get older every single day. My son, he's like incredible. And he always talks about the gift of another day and getting to get older. And I was like, well, that's great for you, but I'm in perimenopause. And so I was starting to like have all the fatigue and the brain fog and the inflammation. And so then I was like, okay, well, I witnessed my son's healing, and now what can I do for myself without spending a gazillion dollars and figuring out how to really have my body work with me? But I'm fascinated with how the body communicates, and it really does and can repair itself. So that curiosity is what led me to Access Bioscience. We are a transparent, compliant research supply company. So yeah, I really became curious about the science of all of it.
Yeah, I love it. And then we're going to get a little geeky. I see some great questions coming in the chat. We're going to get to all of those. But I want to share too, just so there's personal examples here of people who've transformed. We went through a phase of wondering, because everything that we do to serve the health entrepreneur community, it happens in the online space with the exception of our book writing routines. Okay. That's the only time where we get y'all face to face and we sequester you for 5 days and we make you get your book done in that time. Okay. But everything else that we do is in the online space. And so we thought, hey, maybe we could be digital nomads. My son wanted to go to Thailand. So we're like, great. We got a work contract with his school. We took off to Thailand. We're like, we're going to live there for 3 months. Fast forward, we're not digital nomads. Turns out we love our house. We love our dog. Like there are things in our community we love. So now we just go on 1 month trips is our max. But we thought, okay, we were giving it a go. And 2 weeks before we were due to come back to the States, my husband, who was, 40 something, I won't throw him under the bus. He's 40 something. Okay. Late 40s. And he jumps up in the sand, the wet sand where we're playing Frisbee, and he lands. And he thought he was bit by something or stung by something. And I'm sure you've all heard this for anyone who's like torn their Achilles, that snap when it tears can feel like something just bit you or something just stung you, because it literally is very localized pain, very intensely. And you can't quite figure out what's happening or where it came from. Super, super common in men his age. I didn't know that until after the fact. Okay. So it turned out that he had torn his it turned out that he has torn his Achilles 50% tear. Okay. So we were lucky that we were on an island too in Thailand. So it was this whole big thing to get him back to the mainland and an MRI and figure this out. And so they let him know, okay, well, the studies and the research show that, unless you're gonna lose your college football scholarship or something, that healing is 6 one way, half a dozen the other if you get the surgery or if you don't. And the re-injury rate was exactly the same. So he decided to ride it out, had a boot and the whole 9 yards, like let it heal properly. We got back to the States. We saw a second surgeon here. He confirmed all that information was accurate. and he was healing, but really, really slowly. And he was in this boot 3 months, 6 months. And at this point, he's losing his mind with like frustration of wearing this boot because he's super competitive. He's super aggressive with his workout. It was pissing him off. That's when we first got turned on to peptides. Okay. And this was before everything that we know now. I would have done a different, like we would have done a different stack with him now, but we just started simply with BPC 157. And anytime in the night, if we were reading together or watching TV together, I would sit with like one of those gua sha tools, those little jade, gua sha tools ladies use on their face. And I would gently like massage this thing because the surgeon had said, you want to try to break up the scar tissue. Well, it felt like a big wad of bubblegum, like old school big league chew bubblegum. It just felt huge, like hard bubblegum that wouldn't go away. As soon as we started injecting as near to the site as we could, that bubblegum size scar tissue started getting smaller and smaller and smaller, such that one night, and this did not take long, you guys. Remember, he'd been in a boot like 6 months at this time, and we weren't seeing any big progress. All of a sudden with the BPC, it was going down and down and down and down till one night I went to massage it for him and I was like, honey, will you see if I'm going crazy? But like, I can't even find it, and he's feeling it. And he's like, wow, like I knew I was feeling stronger at the gym. I knew I was feeling like myself again. I knew like everything was healing well, but I had no idea it would actually get rid of. He just thought the scar tissue will probably to some degree like be there for life, and it would be always his like, how like, your little old grandpa complains, oh, when it's cold, my old injuries from football, they kind of fire up. He kind of thought it would be like that, right? But now he's pain-free. The scar tissue is gone. And it was all like because of including one peptide on his healing journey. So that's when my geeky mind had to know, right? That was like, I have to know more. Like, what's happening? How is this happening? What are the biomechanisms through which this is happening, right? So I went crazy doing a ton of research. Just really quick, I'm going to pop up a QR code so that if you guys want to get access to my research, literally like months of my life dedicated to what are the best books? What are the best courses I can take? How am I going to source things? All of that. I put it into a document. I'm going to give it to you now as I'm asking questions to Amy, because if you're looking at that document and it spawns any questions for you, I want to make sure that you have access to that. Okay. So if you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to a Google document. Okay. I wanted it to be easy access, no matter if you're Apple, no matter if you're PC. I'm so Apple. I forget, you guys. I forget about my PC friends sometimes. Okay. So I did remember that this time. No pages, documents. Okay. It's just in a Google Doc. You can access it from your computer or your phone. If I were you, you can use it as view only if you want to. Okay. You can totally use it as view only if you want to. If you want to add your own notes, which I highly, highly recommend, then go, when you're in the Google document, go to file and choose make a copy, and then you'll have your own copy. Okay. And you can add all your notes. Okay. Because this would be a great time to re-acknowledge, Amy shared this already, but peptides live in a very gray area. And we can talk more about that, Amy, but when I did my research on why it's such a gray area, I was not really shocked to find that because peptides are things our body already creates, like they're amino acid chains, right? So if you do any research and you see, oh, why are they so fragile? Why do I have to be so careful when I'm reconstituting them? Why do they come with a little ice pack? Like, why are these tender little beings, right? What's going on here? It's because they're chains of amino acids. So they do need to be treated carefully, okay? But since they are amino acids, since our body already makes them, that means it's really difficult for big pharma to put a patent on them and charge infinitely more money, as much as they want. And so that plops it right down in a really nice gray area, right? Where they haven't quite figured out how to maximize the monetization of these things. And because it's something our body creates on its own, regulation becomes a really weird thing, right? It would be like these are made by our body. How can we say it's right? How can we say it's wrong, right? When you get into anything that is going to rub up against modern conventional medicine, anything that's going to rub up against the capitalistic big pharma, beliefs of what money should be. Anytime we're running into those two things, we are bound to be swimming in a very gray area. Okay. So when I say, and when you hear Amy say, we're not your doctors, we're just here talking about our own journeys, I want to fully put the responsibility on you. Okay. It's always on you to do the research, to advocate for yourself, and to find sourcing that you feel comfortable with, that you feel is safe and sound. I'll share a little bit about how I came to find Amy. I was using a completely different brand of peptides that had originally been recommended to me by friends in my mastermind who are in a very, it's funny because we're in a mastermind that's very marketing forward, but all of us are like obsessed with longevity and health and how can we serve at a bigger rate. All of us, we speak a lot, we travel a lot. There's a book needs to come out next, a program needs to come out next. So we're kind of living at the bleeding edge of what's possible already, and we need any advantage that we can possibly get. I'm sure all of you can relate, right? Especially those of you have decided to scale. All of a sudden, there's all these things on your plate and can be really overwhelming. So for me, I got information from my mastermind. I'm like, I love this. I was buying from a source where just a single bottle of my peptides was costing me $300. I was like, holy cow, this is really going to stack up fast, right? And once I dove into the rabbit hole and I started reading the books that you're going to see in that peptide power play document that I just gave you, every time I took a course, and I've taken so many online courses, my favorite are in that document, you guys. Okay. And there's courses in there for, people like me who are not a medical professional. And there are also courses in there for you to get certified in usage of peptides. Okay. So whether you're wanting to use it for personal use or you're wanting to use it for professional use, I put all in that document. I put all of the links to my favorite courses that I found. Okay. I'm really blessed because after serving in the health and wellness space for 13 years, I was able to go through the practitioner certification, even though I'm not a practitioner. They were like, Joy, we know you love us. We're not going to do anything wrong with this. So we're going to let you go ahead. I didn't need the continuing education credits. Like, I can't market any better for you guys if I have CEUs, right? But I love it. I freaking absolutely love it because it has protocols, it has dosages, it has timing, it has contradictions, it has, oh my God, you guys, it has like so many things that are so helpful. And best of all, it cites where the studies were. It cites the research because for me, I'm not about to take any bullshit advice from some online health bro because I've seen some whack ass advice given on TikTok and Instagram that completely contradicts everything that I learned in the courses that I share with you in that document. Okay. So it is crucially important as we navigate a gray zone here that you all take the reins. Okay. Nobody can take the reins on your education and your sourcing for you. But with that said, I want to share some of the things that I found when I started going down this rabbit hole. And that had to do with how many places on the planet actually make this stuff, right? So, Amy, is that something that we can get into with you? Because I was given some of these brands are charging Tiffany's prices, right? Mm-hmm. Like, do I really need to pay $100,000 for a tennis bracelet, And then some of them were like Target prices, right? So that initially made me really nervous because I was like, wait, is this some made in the gutter and some made in a gold pot? I really had a misunderstanding of what was possible. And I was shocked by how many places actually make reputable peptide sources. So is that a territory you feel comfortable talking to me about?
So I can touch on it a little bit, but at the end of the day, pretty much there's a very small amount of manufacturers that actually create the peptides. And then from there, it goes into the suppliers and the vendors. And so ultimately, almost all of it comes from the same place, essentially. Yes. There's only a couple of different things. So it's very interesting. It's like, somebody could charge $50 for, a bottle of water. Somebody could charge $5 for a bottle of water. But when you go all the way back, it's like, okay. It's very interesting when you go down the rabbit hole of how it's made, where it comes from, and the manufacturing of it. And that's one of the things that with Access Bioscience, and again, I'm not a supplement company, not a medical provider, but we do provide the research peptides. And we are very, very transparent. This is one of the things that I absolutely love. I guess in regards to the gray area is that we are capable to test all of our products at different labs around the world. We've had our products tested, and every single batch that comes in gets a new test, a different test. So it's not like testing just the manufacturer. You know, we're very transparent with our COAs, the certificate of analysis, so that we test all of the purity. And I can tell you right now that if something comes back and is not up to the standards, we say, nope, we're reshipping. We're giving this back to you. We don't want this, and we need a brand new batch made and created. So it's very interesting because peptides and like the regenerative compounds that are out there right now, it's so fascinating. Like, it's one of the most fascinating things in biochemistry right now. And everybody, it's becoming more and more mainstream. And so, as you said, Joy, sometimes the FDA becomes a little bit like, what
should we do here?
So I love being able to share with people the possibilities that are out there. And again, the transparency, the testing. I will never, ever have anything out there that is not tested, fully tested. And anytime anybody wants to see the COA, I don't have them openly on my website because we do get new batches. So it'd have to constantly be updated. So just email and we'll send you the COA for that exact batch that you have, all based on different factors. And so that way we stay very safe, very transparent.
I love that. I love that about this. So I just put on the link. I just put the link on screen here for you guys. This is where I now get all of my peptides from. And you guys know I can be a little bit of a difficult bitch sometimes. I totally own that. Okay. And also I do it from a place of like mama bear energy. Like, I want to protect my family. I want to protect my clients. I want to protect all of the health entrepreneurs that trust me. And I was a pain in Access Bioscience's ass when I first started with them, right? It was like, okay, I want to know. I want to know the sourcing. I want to see the certs. I want to see. I was like, there's the guy who walks into the Porsche dealer and he just picks the color and drives away. And then there's the person who like wants to look under the hood and wants to take it for a test drive and wants to talk to the mechanics and that was me. Okay. I was that guy. And I was so surprised to see that these were coming from the very few labs that I had researched that everyone else was getting them from. I was delighted that it was making the peptides that I use the most. And I'm happy to answer questions about my stack, you guys, because Amy's in a gray area. Like, she can't do that, but I'm an open book. I'm happy to share mine with you. Okay. But my peptide stack that I'm currently on, plus my husband's, right, who does the Wolverine stack and a little bit more, like, it was going to be $1,600 a month for us to be doing that stack. Right? That's a lot. Okay. And then I once I did my research, once I found all of these, all of that Access Bioscience had access to all of the ones that I use from the same exact source, using the same exact purity certifiers as the ones I was paying easily 4 or 5 times as much for. I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to track my peptides. Okay. I'll even give you guys my tracker. So if you're not currently tracking, you need to track. But me, I like a good split test, right? A good split test in marketing can make us an extra $1 million a year. So if a health split test is going to get me an extra 5-10 years at the end of my life, right? I have 2 kids, and I hope one day that I'll have what I currently call my grand maybes, right? They're too young to have babies yet, but when they have my grand maybes, I want to have fun. I want to play. I want to throw them around. I want to have a really good time. So anything that I can do is worth tracking, right? That's my version of a split test. So I stayed on the peptides that I had. Okay. And I was tracking formerly in a journal, like an old school journal. And then Amy and I worked on she's like, no, you could do it this way. Just take my tracker and then you can make it better. Add whatever you want, add your research, do whatever you want. You can go nuts. So I finished out the peptides that I had. And then I took 2 weeks off, and then I started my new peptides with Access Bioscience that I had got from Access Bioscience. Okay. Totally fine. Everything was the same because I had done more research. Amy turned me onto one book that I didn't have before. And then I also took an amazing course from, we have some weird background noise. Is that you? I took an amazing course by Dr. Tracy Stroup. Okay. She is with Abiding Wellness. She's amazing. She is so smart. She has a brand called Eat, Pray, Faith. She very, merges her religion into what she does, which I'm happy for her about that. And she had a entry level peptides course and then an advanced level peptides course. And then I sweet talked her into letting me take the practitioner course, right? So I added on my stack there. Okay. So when I bumped up my stack, it started to be like a lot to manage without the tracker. So the tracker, I'll put that on here right now. Okay. And then we'll circle back to Amy. Okay. That is the tracker that I use. So the day that I put in the bacteriostatic water to reconstitute, that date goes into my tracker. So I know. Okay. And then I do the math. And there's a link to like what do you call it? Like a calculator that I found online because my brain was getting a little confused between, okay, I put this many milligrams of bacteriostatic water in the vial, but I'm using a syringe that is units, it's like, so I needed help doing the math, right? So there's a link in my Peptide Power Plate document to my favorite calculator for that. So you don't have to, I don't know, I'm blonde. Maybe I was having trouble with math. So, so that really helps. And then I'm also tracking my symptoms, right? So, okay, when I started this, when I started that, what was my goal? And then what are my metrics for measuring the change? Right. So my friends who are trying to lose weight, right, when they started on their Retta, what did they notice? Okay. Some of them noticed, oh my gosh, I'm definitely hitting my weight metrics that I want to hit. But I noticed Retta taken once a week at 2.5 units, they were like, I'm doing that. And then I get tired. Like I get tired when I take my Retta, and they needed to add in a MOT-C in addition with that to just make sure the one dose of Meta a week didn't make them tired. So if they didn't track it, if they didn't know their symptoms and any counter symptoms that they didn't want, so if they didn't have their success metrics that they were looking at and measuring, and they didn't note any symptoms or changes that they didn't want, how would they know, right? It's like they're stabbing in the dark. And even though, getting the peptides from this source, from Access Bioscience, which is, you guys, like, it's the same. You know what I mean? It's like I was so overpaying. When I think of it now, I'm like, man, I could have been dumping all that money into my kid's future or into an ad spend. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy what I was doing before, If they didn't know what they needed to add, if they didn't know if their dosing need to be changed, they wouldn't have, they would just be wasting money if they didn't track it, right? So that's my favorite source. I'm going to put the tracker up there one more time, just in case you guys need the tracker. That's another one where when you get into that Google document, go to the upper left-hand corner where it says file in the main navigation. And in that drop-down menu, you will see the option to make a copy. It literally says make a copy. And then you're going to have your own copy in your own Google Drive. And that way you can edit it, change it. I recommend that you make a copy and then save that one as your original, like dash template or something. And then every time, if you want to make a new one every quarter or whatever, you'll have a fresh, clean one. So you can always restart back on a tracker that's not messy or sloppy from your previous quarter and from everything that you've learned. Okay. All right. So Amy, what prompted you to bring this to market and just decide, okay, I'm not going to do anyone who wants to stack had better be prepared to throw down $5,000 a month. Right. Like, what was your commitment for your end user?
Well, one of the things that I really noticed was the gap between the cost, right? Between what researchers were actually studying and what people could access responsibly, and so many people want to access things responsibly and kind of take control of things and manage their well-being. And so I found so many people that were looking for verified, transparent research materials, but the market really lacked a lot of clear compliance and a lot of the transparency. It seemed it was either the big money, like, hey, you got to pay us thousands of dollars, or you're going to have to go to the back alley and just trust somebody that you're getting something, right? And so it was like, okay, how can we offer and supply things that are research grade, that is transparent, that is compliant, that is fully tested, and allow health professionals, allow anyone who wants to kind of go down this path, be able to access them. So I built Access Bioscience to fill the gap ethically and responsibly. And I did notice right here in the comments, I'm just going to address this real quick because it came up.
Here, we'll put, there's a few. I just want to show I want to show all these questions that are coming up.
Yes.
Redeeming wellness. Oh, that's Leslie. So Leslie, 4 products are just showing on the home screen, I believe. But you can use the whole catalog. Yeah, exactly.
We have a whole catalog. So you can click on shop or the research catalog. I think those are just the featured products on the website.
Exactly. Those are just featured, but you can search, Leslie, for whatever it is that you're looking for. Okay.
Yeah,
and then let's pull this one up, because if you guys have not shopped, like, some of your questions are kind of revealing that you're a peptide newbie, which you're welcome here. You are so welcome here. Okay. But you will, you're totally welcome here. But I'll let you answer this, Amy, because you can speak to it even more in depth than I can.
I get this a lot. And it really is a great question, because people are like, wait a minute, this says not for human consumption. And we include that statement for full legal and regulatory compliance. Okay. Peptides and similar compounds are not FDA approved for human use unless they're specifically designated as such. That's why these are research, because these are still under research. So by clearly stating that everything we offer is laboratory research use only, we're protecting both you, our customers, and ourselves. And it ensures that all of our sales, they stay within the legal appropriate category of research materials. So these are not medical products, they are research materials. And so that is just one of the things that if you were to go to any other sort of peptide supplier site, they're going to have the same kind of disclaimer. You'll see it on any legitimate researcher supplier site. If they don't have that disclaimer, I honestly would question it.
Yeah, me too. Right? Me too. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because well, I was just going to say, it's not really about what people believe the compounds can do. It's really about maintaining the integrity and the transparency in how they're sold. So it's just a disclaimer that legally keeps us compliant.
Yes, exactly. Okay, let's get into, Leslie is also asking about BPC 157. I think it's a different peptide that people are concerned about with the promoting tumor growth. It's actually not BPC 157. You're thinking of a different one. But Leslie, just because we don't want to get into diagnosing or treating or anything like that. And Amy, I don't feel comfortable answering that. I don't know about you, but Leslie, I'm happy to have a side conversation with you about that.
As somebody just posted, this does fall under the adage of do your own research. Like,
yes, exactly. Exactly.
Diagnose or educate.
Yes,
do your own
exactly
to it, because having a son that had cancer, I'm extremely cautious of anything that he takes or puts in his body. And so do your own research, and really, that's the bottom line.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Someone is saying Dr. Tracy is amazing. You're absolutely right. Okay. And if you are concerned about that, like if you're concerned about your knowledge and your comfort level and your understanding, the research that I gave you is a great place to start. But those high level courses in the document, there's literally the one for practitioners to get certified in that. I highly, highly, highly recommend that. I don't think that any of you, okay, should be throwing out information for your patients or clients unless you have under your belt, the knowledge that you need to make sure you know exactly what the mechanisms, the biomechanisms by which each peptide is working. You need to know that. Okay. So if you don't have that under your belt, you're welcome here. we're not going to stand on high and be all superior on you. But obviously, right, you wouldn't even run a GI map on your client if you had no education in how to read a GI map, because what the hell would the data do for you unless you were well trained to run that test? And I feel 10x that is required when you step into the peptide world. Okay. So make sure that you do your research about that. Okay. Let me see. Are we able to put those in our e-commerce store, Tanika? Okay. Tanika, are you, I'm assuming that you must be familiar with peptides, and you must be looking to provide a source for your community. we do have the opportunity for you to do that. However, those need to be vetted very carefully. So I'm just going to have you DM me the word peptides. Okay. And we will start that conversation with you. Okay. Because if you want to give your people access to this, I'm more than happy to talk through that with you and to connect you with Access Bioscience. But because it is gray, I'm never going to send anybody there that I'm not going to look at. Like, I'm not going to look at what you've got going on. I'm not going to talk to you about this because I want to make sure we're connecting the right people. It took me so long to find a brand that had the purity standards that I demand, that was sourcing responsibly, that was happy to take a hit if something came in and it does not hit those purity standards and like send that back. I'm sorry, but I just don't have the faith that some brands aren't going to be like, meh, close enough and ship it off, right? Like I'm actually looking for someone who's a little more elitist bitchy about that kind of stuff and perfectly willing to stand up and fight that the purity has to be what it has to be or it's not going to our people. And so I would filter in the same way to make sure that the right people are passed on to her. Okay. So I'm going to put this, I want to put this QR code right up here for anyone who wants to get their own. Okay. So this is if you want to discover the differences, if you want to explore the pricing, I want to make sure that you've got this one right here, that QR code. That's literally where I purchased mine from. And then let me come over to questions. And if not, I do want to share, like, if it's okay with you, Amy, I want to talk a little bit about my stack. And in case anyone wants sort of some firsthand interactions, let me make sure. Sherry is saying, just like raw milk is only for pet use here in Georgia, it comes down to quality. Exactly. Sherry, you're totally picking up what we're putting down here. I totally get it. Okay. And then let's see if we get this one. So this falls under the adage of yes, also it does. But it just depends, Foxhaven. I don't know your first name, so I'm calling you Foxhaven. I apologize for that. It depends how far down the rabbit hole you want to go, right? Like some people are experimenting on their own health and, it's legal. There's fine. There's plenty of people who are doing that. If that's you, you better at least be using that Petpedia site that's in my research document, okay? Because it will tell you, let me pull that one up again, okay? Yeah. Okay. There is one. If you scroll down that page to where it says, oh, these are my favorite resources. Like, even if I'm going to augment my own stack or my husband my husband this morning wanted to just augment his stack, like on the fly. And I was like, whoa, buddy, like, wait a minute. Like, have you looked up the interactions to make sure you can even combine those in the same syringe or the timing is not right? He's like, no. And I'm like, smack the hand, like, no, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do your research. You have to be smart. He's a big guy, so he's just like, I'm tough. I can do it all. But like, no, you gotta do your research. Anything you want to change, like, this is your health you're talking about, you guys. Okay. So I instantly, I always have the Chrome window up in my phone for the Petpedia because it does a great job of listing the reconstitution, listing the dosages, listing what it is synergistic with, what it's not synergistic with, meaning like, do not take it with this one or do not take it with this medication. So I love that resource is so comprehensive. And I love that when I go on there, I'm constantly seeing new additions in the research tabs on different peptides. And I love that because you guys expect me to keep you in the blazing forefront of marketing, what's happening in, ad spends and algorithms and what's working, what's not working. And if we're not, if the sources of information for my medical advice or anything I'm sourcing is not doing the same, then I'm a little bit disappointed, honestly. Okay. So I love that site is constantly keeping you up to date. That's a bare minimum, you guys. I recommend that you take one of Dr. Tracy Straub's courses. Take the entry level, see if it's like, okay, like I'm geeky curious about this. I want to have some fun. I want to go down this rabbit hole. And then if you want to do this and deploy it with people who you are coaching or they're under your care, obviously get the certification. It's so inexpensive, you guys, like less than one client that you're working with, and you would reimburse yourself for that high level certification. And then you have some true training under your belt with the continuing education credits, which y'all need those. Okay. So you need to get them anyway. Why not get them on topics that keep you at the bleeding edge? So your audience doesn't see you as a latecomer to the peptide party, right? But sees you as someone who's like, wow, my doctor brought that to me before I heard about it on the doctor's TV show, or I read about it in Men's Health magazine, right? You don't want to be behind the eight ball on this. You want to be in front of it, and you want to show your people that you are at the bleeding edge of what's possible. And I think peptides, I just went to Dr. Fab Mancini's event. It was his 60th birthday. He brought his favorite content. There was a whole session on both stem cells and peptides. But if I had to give you some feedback on the temperature in the room when it came to keeping our finger on the pulse of like what's the bleeding edge, peptides felt way more bleeding edge to that audience than even the stem cells, right? And then there were some practitioners there who were singing the praises of combining, right? Of saying, okay, when it got to the point of, in other words, they were starting with peptides first and then moving to stem cell only if they didn't get the result that they want. So those who were singing the synergistic praises were talking about, oh, if I get to the point of needing to have someone do stem cells, having them on a really proactive peptide stack heading into that was getting them better results. So it was fascinating that, the people who are staying at the bleeding edge were looking for deeper research and safe sourcing on peptides. That was one of the main speakers.
I mean, there's hundreds of peptides. Like when you start really learning about them and researching them, you're like, oh my gosh, there's not just 4. There's not
there's not just PPC 157 and TB 500, you guys, on the Wolverine stack. Okay.
Right. I mean, there are hundreds of them. We're learning about more and more every day. And each one of them is being studied just because of how they influence recovery and inflammation and metabolism. And, the research is still emerging. That's why they're research compounds, right?
Yes,
and
exactly.
They're not approved for human use. But peptides are amazing, and they really are getting more and more out there that they're truly life-changing.
Yeah, exactly. In that Peptide Power Play document, you guys, I mentioned that both Travis and I had massive success in using peptides. But because I know that gut health is a really big challenge right now, I think a lot of us are dealing with massive populations. I know within the Practitioner Accelerator Mastermind, there's no less than half a dozen of the practitioners who have a gut focused, like a gut recovery program, online program of some kind. So because I know that gut health is just internationally, it's a big deal, I will share that I was doing a project. This was at a time I was filming a course called The Warrior Way for 30 Days for Sun Warrior. So if all y'all know the vegan protein powder company out there, Sun Warrior Foods, they're amazing, super high quality, love them. We were filming a course called The Warrior Way for 30 Days. And if you don't know, I have a culinary background in vegan and raw food nutrition, not because I believe that, you have to live your lifestyle that way, but because I believe that all of us meat eaters need more creative ways to include vegetables in our diet. And the raw food and the vegan world makes vegetable dishes so appealing that I thought, oh, how cool to pursue a knowledge there and then bring it back to the meat eating world to get them to eat more of the fiber and phytonutrients that they need from that. Okay. So I was using my education from that realm of my life. Okay. Not my marketing realm. And I was doing this course, Warrior Way for 30 Days. And we were on set making all this delicious raw and vegan food. Okay. So I was, instead of throwing it away at the end of the day, I was taking that food home, and that's just what I was eating for 30 days straight, raw. And it was not summer. And that's a mistake. Okay. So any of you who do Chinese medicine, raw food nonstop in the winter when it's cold, not a good idea. Too much cold, too much damp. Joy got sick. Okay. I got sick with SIBO, but I didn't know it was SIBO at the time. And I thought, I must have gotten something while I was speaking or traveling. I'm going to eat more pure. I'm going to eat more kale salad. I'm going to eat more vegetables. And I didn't realize that the bacteria that was overgrown in my small intestine lived on vegetable fiber. So while I thought I was doing the right thing and like eating clean, and my husband called it the superior diet. It's so funny. Okay. I was actually feeding that bacteria exactly what it wanted. and it was overgrowing like crazy. Okay. And I know SIBO is very common now and everybody's talking about it, but way back then it was like only Dr. Mark Pimentel's book. Like he's a very conventional, GI doc. And so his book was the only thing that I had to go on. And he's like, yeah, when you get SIBO, you're actually better off just eating meat and living on Wonder Bread for a while till it goes away if it's the vegetable induced one. And I was like, gluten hates me, so I couldn't eat bread. I was like, what am I just going to eat meat until this goes away? This is crazy, right? So long story short, I was able to sort of slowly get over that and get my digestive system back on track. But it honestly never felt totally right. And it felt like anytime I went out and ate outside of my bubble of like cooking at home or anything, that I was in danger of having massive stomach pain, not only at the time of that meal, but sometimes for 2 and 3 days after the fact. It would take me out of the game. And so that was that was right about the time that we had this, what felt like a miraculous recovery of Travis's Achilles tear. So I went down the rabbit hole of like, okay, well, what of these peptides can be used in the gut health realm? What's safe? What's possible? What's been proven? Okay. So I added BPC 157, KPV, and TB 500. And I did that stack, and lo and behold, my bowel movements, TMI, I know, like started to become like more regular and not a problem. I didn't have that crazy like gas trap between, like, if you have your clients with SIBO, you know that they'll complain because it's not like GERD and it's not the lower intestine. So there's this middle sort of part of the digestive system that can be really painful because it's more sensitive. Any gas trapped in there is more painful. The digestive process can be more painful for them. If you have these clients, you know this, okay? And so I just couldn't quite get, I was doing the IgG powders, I was taking my probiotic, I was doing all the things, but I just couldn't quite get to the point where I felt like that is in the rearview mirror now. And I can move forward with my health focused on longevity and energy and beauty and libido and all the fun things that you can do with peptides, right? So that was the stack that I used. And the difference between pre-peptide and post-peptide for me, night and day. There was a point during that whole debacle that I was like, I guess this is just my life. Like, I guess I just get to live with this pain. You know what I mean? And it was implementing that stack that made me be like, oh shit, it actually is possible for me to get fully get over this and get back on, feeling like my digestion was on fire. All right. So that was the stack that got me into it. That was the stack that got me over the hump. If there's anything that you guys want to know about my stack, my updated stack, I'm happy to answer those questions for you. I do add NAD because I love it for energy. I only use it in the morning. I do a KPV second dose in the evening before I go to bed to prevent any inflammation from swelling back up if I've gone out, right? So like when I eat safely at home, I know every single ingredient. If I go out to a restaurant, I don't really know so much. So I will do my KPV at night to just make sure that any inflammatory stuff that I had going on from that, I've sort of preemptively taken care of it. And that's sort of been my magic, stack for right now. I am adding a peptide to bump up libido. I'll share back my results on that after I've been through my tracker and I can do my own science. Totally happy to disclose all of that. And then my monkey brain can sometimes have a challenge of sleeping, just because as soon as I lay down my head, that seems to be the time all the ideas come and I need to write everything down. And so I am just in the middle of my 30-day research on implementing a deep sleep protocol peptide 2. And again, I won't say whether they work or not because you guys know me. I'm not going to tell you a funnel unless I've tested it with ad spend and I know what my conversion rates are. Okay. Same thing with these. I won't give you feedback on those two particular ones because I want to make sure that I've got the proof in my own pudding before I tell you anything and sing its praises one way or the other. Okay. I'm going to put the peptides document up here just in case you guys need it. By the way, I added a link in the Peptide Power Play document. That's the one with all the research, the links to all the courses that I took, to all my favorite books that I've read. There's also some geeky stuff in there, Amy, that I think we could get into and talk about because I know you travel a lot too, is the trip out to Dr. Fab's event for Fab Life was the first time that I had all my gear, and you guys, this gear is in the Peptide Power Play. I had ordered on Amazon my little hard case to keep the ice packs, and I took my peptides dry with my bacteriostatic water, and I took my big injection needle. I use like an intramuscular syringe to reconstitute, because if you use the tiny syringes, it takes forever, right? So I brought my backwater and my pep stack in its little ice thing, and I brought a separate little container that had my insulin syringes and my alcohol. And it was the first time that I like safely traveled with my peptides, and that made a huge difference, because previously I was like, well, I'll just leave it. It's too much of a pain in the butt to do it. And then if I was gone like 3, 4, 5 days, I noticed a difference. So I had the tired and, maybe not sleeping as well in a hotel as I do at home. And I wasn't taking my stack. And so this is the first time that I actually had all the gear, and traveled safely. So I'm curious, do you travel with your stuff too? Do you stay on your stacks when you travel?
I do. Yes, I do travel with things. And I will tell you too, that it's very interesting when you sell these research peptides, because they're not already reconstituted or anything. The powder can actually stay in the freezer for a very long time. Like a couple of years, actually, from my understanding. Again, it's all research, and you do want to keep it cold. You don't want to have it be traveling through the desert in the middle of the summer without some ice packs or anything like that. But yeah, you can travel. They make some great cases on Amazon that you can get. There's again, in the Peptide Power Play, Joy has all of the information in there, which that is the most amazing resource right there for you guys. It's incredible. You've put together so much great stuff. Like I said, my job is just to supply the, the research, or the research peptides, and to make sure that they are all compliant and they've been lab tested and all of that. Your job is to give them all those resources, and you've done amazing.
Sometimes obsessive compulsive disorder can come in handy, right? Like even the little freezer containers, like it takes time, right, to figure out which ones work. And then apparently there are other OCD people in the world, because I provide you a link to the freezer container that I use to keep them organized, because I'm not a plastic lover, right? So I was putting these little glass vials inside a glass Tupperware and putting them in my freezer. And I was thinking the whole time, like, wait, this is glass clinking against glass. Like, this is not a good idea. So I had like a little paper towel or a little like cloth napkin that I would put to try to keep it from clanking. But I'm like, this is not good enough. Okay. So now there's a freezer storage container. And then somebody was amazingly OCD, and they 3D printed a little insert that fits right inside there. And it's exactly the right size of all the vials. So now mine are totally organized, and they're no longer clinking around glass on glass. Yeah.
That is a great way to store them too, because you don't want to have the direct sunlight on them. Even when you open up, I'm kind of OCD like that too. You open up a freezer and you're like, oh my gosh, the sun's coming in. So it's like you get a Hydro Peak. You go to Etsy, you get things. And if you put anything in your check baggage, not an issue at all. Even carry-on, I've never had an issue. I also have a mini fridge in my bathroom so that I don't have to go downstairs.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, so I have a mini fridge in the bathroom with everything. So it's all right there for at home. But yeah, I mean, all the things, it's exciting, because it really is becoming such a bigger community of people doing the research, looking into peptides. And now we're getting the accessories, like the little vial holders.
Yes, exactly. All the little tiny. It's so awesome. I will tell you, I don't love that there's not a connecting flight from San Diego to Fort Lauderdale, where the Fab Life event was. So I wasn't thinking about it, but I threw my peptides into my carry-on. And when there's like connecting flights, I rather just fit it in my carry-on. I don't want to check a bag. So I didn't check a bag, and I had carry-on with my peptides and with my insulin syringes in there, which, by the way, did you guys know that insulin technically was the first peptide that we were using as humans? Did you guys know that? Interesting, geeky fact. Okay. So sure enough, my bag got flagged, and it goes over to the side, and you're like, oh shit, that's my bag. I got to go answer up for this thing. And the person opened it, and she was like, oh, are you diabetic? And I was like, oh no, those are my peptides. And she's like, oh, I've heard about peptides. And she got into this little chat with me, and it's so funny. I have the peptide Peptide Power Play document link on my phone in chat because people ask me like, oh, Joy, I love your little containers. Where do you get them? Like if they come to my house and see, and she was like, oh, could you share that with me? It's like, of course, do your own research, but it ended up being a fun conversation at the TSA, which is not usually fun. So totally safe to travel with them. One thing, because as we wrap up, we only have a few minutes left. I'll make sure that we get to any questions, but I just want to honor Amy and her work with Access Bioscience for what she's done, because she was not the only peptide source person that I reached out to. Okay. She was obviously not the only peptide source that I ever ordered my peptides from. Okay. And having split test peptides from different places and feeling like, oh, this is exactly what I'm getting for a fraction of the price. I just want to say thank you for being willing to make these accessible to people at a price that does not feel like gouging. I want to thank you for that, because I really feel like when I was doing my price comparisons and when I was finding my next source, like I really saw the extremity to which some of these are absolutely price gouging. And I just want to say thank you, woman to woman, for making these accessible to more people who, are under our care, our friends, our family, people who need them.
Well, I really am passionate about it. It's one of those things where, I absolutely could charge more with no question. But I know through my experience with my son, through my own experience, that when things are kind of out of reach, you feel like, oh, that's only for the elite, or that's not accessible for other people. And everybody gets a chance to get healthy. Everybody gets an opportunity to be healthy. And so what really keeps me passionate, though, it isn't just like the science and the health. It's the potential. It's the potential of what these can do. And when I think about watching what my son went through, and like I said, if anybody's ever dealt with, brain cancer or childhood cancer, it's not pretty. It is never, ever pretty. And when I saw how much the body can really adapt under stress, and I see these compounds as part of a larger conversation, just about the possibilities. I said, when my son was diagnosed, they told me that with treatment, his best case scenario is 8 to 14 months to live. And then they said he has less than a 3% chance to make it to 5 years. And here we are almost 11 years later. So the body is truly amazing. Yes. When you listen to it, when you really get in touch with your own body and you understand what's going on. And so to me, peptides just have so much possibility out there. And it's just the curiosity and the respect for the body's design. I'm not out here trying to sell some miracle molecule or trying to do anything crazy. It really is your own research, but I know how much it's changed my life. So I just want to offer that to everybody else.
Yeah, mine too. Okay, I'm going to put my favorite source. This is Access Biosciences, so you guys can scan that, and you'll have access to get the peptides for yourself. Okay, some of you who have gone to the higher levels already. Okay, so this does not apply to the entry level curious, but there are some of you who have already gotten your continuing education credits. You've already gotten peptide usage certificates under your belt, and I want to put my personal I'm going to put my personal Instagram up here on the screen, and I invite you to reach out to me and let me know that you are wanting to have a broker relationship so that you can offer peptides to your people at these affordable prices. Okay. So if that's something that you're curious about, that's my personal Instagram account. Just DM me. Let me know what you're up to. Let me know what you're going for. And then I will connect those of you for where that's an appropriate relationship. I will connect you directly with Access Bioscience, and we'll get you set up for that. Okay. Because if we're going to be getting these out, if we're going to getting the word out to more people, we can't be expecting them to throw down another $5,000, $7,000, $1,000, $1,200 in order to get that. Like, you guys already see the patients complaining about what we ask them to buy in our own e-commerce store or over at FullScript. If you're still using FullScript and you haven't switched to your own Get Healthy store yet, you guys hear those complaints. Okay. So if we're also moving them forward into this world of peptides, we need to be prepared to make sure that if we're going to turn them onto this knowledge and turn them onto these kind of health possibilities, then I think that we need to take on providing them affordable access to get access to these peptides that are quality, that are trustworthy, that at any point, if they're like, hey, I want to see the certs from my batch that I test, that I'm buying, that's an open book. And that is not everywhere. Let me tell you, after hunting for my own good source, that is not everywhere. There are people who straight up don't reply to customer service tickets, that don't reply to inquiries on their website, that when they ask to say certificate numbers, okay, here's something that happened. I asked for a certificate number from an alternate provider, and it was a test from the lot number that was not the lot number that I purchased.
Oh my gosh.
No way. Like, those are red flags, you guys. It's like, you have a heart-centered mama who was told her kid was never going to live that long, and she's made those committed health journeys. You know, you're dealing with a real person who has a real heart and a real brain, and she knows that the type of client that is interested on peptides is going to want transparency, is going to want that, and is happy to deliver it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm looking for quality people that stand behind any product that I purchase, whether it's a topical face cream or it's certainly something I'm injecting into my body. I demand the highest quality. And that's why I wanted to bring her on and share this with you and share my experience of having overpaid and test that with the same product from the same source and the same testing and got, oh, surprise, the same results. I just wanted to make sure that was transparent with you guys. The other thing I want to be really clear about is this peptide power play. And the tracker also, there's a link. I'll just leave this one because this document also has the link to the tracker. In case you didn't already scan it, just scan this one. You can share that asset. So like, if you have friends and you don't want to retype everything that I put in there, you are more than welcome to spread that document with your friends, your clients, your patients. Like, trust me, like, I know how many hours I spent doing the research and putting that together. Like, hey, let's just spread the wealth of information and let's get more people leaning into something that's natural and can be a real game changer in their health journey. Amy, thank you again for everything that you're doing and for your commitment to provide affordable access to something that, in my personal experience, has been absolutely game changing for both my husband's health and for my own. I honestly, literally, as I shared today, did not think that my the damage that I had done from SIBO would ever go away. I had lost hope that it would ever go away. And to know that peptides were part of my journey to put that in the rearview mirror fully and feel like myself again every day, like, for me, that's just magic. So I really love that you have created access for us that's affordable. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I enjoy talking to people about this. I do, I wish I could talk a little bit more on some of it, but as far as, compliance goes, I like to always stay compliant and transparent about everything. And so I really appreciate you having me here and being able to talk to people. And I do see a little question here though, that I'll.
Yeah, let's go. Let me pop over here.
About being able to ship to Canada.
Okay, let's go. Let's put that one up. Okay.
Yes. Because I just want to make sure that I answer any questions. And of course, you can always go to Access Bioscience and email me through there as well. And just let me know, that Joy's the one who sent you over to me, so that I know kind of what realm you're in and where you came from. But yes, do we ship to Canada? Unfortunately, right now, no. We do not ship internationally. So we're only in the States. However, I do have a network and I may be able to find somebody that's up in Canada, but it is peptides, according to Canada, is a controlled substance. So we cannot ship across. Yeah. So there's still some parameters that we have to stay within as far as shipping goes. But like I said, I do have a network and may be able to find somebody that I know from up there. So
okay, great. Let's answer. And if you need to bounce, Amy, you totally can. I'll stay on and answer a few of these questions. When Miranda is asking, Joy, what's your peptide stack again? Okay, so full transparency, my current peptide stack is BBC 157, TB 500. I'm doing that to keep my muscle mass on, tesamorelin, and then I do my KPV to keep inflammation just at bay. But I split my KPV, so I do half of it in the morning and I do half of it in the evening before I go to bed. And then then I'll report back to you on my implementation of a libido boosting peptide that I'm testing, and also my deep sleep implementation protocol. And I'll report back to you guys. All of you guys who are here, like, I have your email address. Unless a friend invited you, if a friend invited you and you didn't get an email to be here today, then I want to make sure, just come say hi to me on Instagram. You guys, I'm not one of those people who's like untouchable and I don't reply. Like, I reply. Like, I like my Instagram DMs. I hang out. I meet friends there. I make business there. Like, I've met people who come and write their best-selling client acquisition book with me through Instagram DMs. So if you have particular questions and you're here watching this, but you didn't get an email invite from me, it's a good idea for you to go there now. We'll just get connected. And then I share, like, you guys, I'm not shy. I'm not keeping it a secret. So I'm happy to report back to you any of them that I tried for any specific use. And I'm happy to keep you guys updated. The cool thing is, peptides is a very fast moving research train. Okay. So whenever I find a yummy little nugget, like, I email my list, I'm happy to like share all that with you guys. But if we're not connected, you won't know. Okay. So definitely come say hi to me there. And then I'll make sure that we have each other's email and I'll keep you in the loop on what I find. Okay. When Ren is saying that she just went on vacay and brought your supplements too, well, now you're going to need the little containers with the freezy packs so you can bring your peptides if you're doing that. Tiffany's saying she loves all the OCD things. I'm assuming you mean in the document. Yeah, there's a sneak peek into the way that Joy's brain works. You're welcome. Tiffany is thanking you, Amy, for being here. I thank you too. Oh my gosh. It sounds like Foxhaven is very happy to hear that your son is thriving. He had a family challenge with his child too, so I'm sure that means even more to him even than it does for the rest of us. There's just a lot of thank yous in here.
Thank you all
okay,
so much.
Yes, you guys, thank you so much for being here with us. Again, I'm just going to throw the link to grab your stuff the same place I do from Amy right here, and then I'll let you guys know. Amy and I will keep moving this conversation forward, okay? She needs to stay squarely in her lane. You notice she's not sharing her stack. She's not telling you what to do. She needs to stay safely in her lane, okay? So if we think about peptides as a super highway of getting results, if we think about peptide use as a super highway, there's the lane of sourcing, right? So there's even before that, there's a lane of creating, right? This is going to be all of your labs and distribution companies. And then there's making them available to practitioners and people. And then there's the research that has to happen. And then there's protocol development, right? And even I would say there's another lane of just straight on education, right? So obviously, I'm just a person, so I don't care about being transparent about my stack. I'm just a person doing research and jonesing for any courses that I can take. I don't want you to waste the 20 hours that I looked for the course that I trust. I don't want you searching for 20 hours on Amazon. How do I travel with these? Or how do I keep these in my freezer? So I'm staying in the lane of education and just transparency with my personal experience. And out of respect for Amy, having the safe boundaries of only being sourcing, that's all that she can be. She cannot be transparent with you about what her stack is, because if she does, that could be misconstrued. And so we'll never do that. Okay. But what we will do is keep you informed in any research that we find mind-blowing or exciting, or even something that we should keep our finger on the pulse of to see if it might serve some of the people in our family, our friends, our community, or for all of you practitioners in your client and patient base. Okay. We are very much committed to keeping all of this community in the forefront of the peptide conversation. And with that, Amy, I'll just thank you from the bottom of my heart one more time. I'm so impressed by you for what you're doing, for your demands on the purity, for your commitment to transparency, and for making these affordable for us so that, it doesn't break the bank to get peptides.
Thank you so much for